Alright, we're here, day 2 of training. I'm gonna try and catch him now. Yes, so welcome back to day 2. Today we will continue working with Tango on halter breaking him. So once again, I couldn't go out and grab him just with his halter, so I decided to grab Sugarfoot. So if you hear me talking in the next clip, my mom did join me today to watch me train, so I'm very excited. Let's get on to the rest of the video. Give it up, let's go. Roped, the only one that I can. Let's go. Alright. Parkers. Alright. Just gonna drag them along with me. Got Sugars behind me. There's an ant on my arm. There's another ant on my arm. Huh? He won't go up that way. No. Who do you think? The one that's not trained. Oh, he's fine. Probably just continue to follow along. Alright, just got these two. Tango's walking that way, Sugar's right behind me. But at least he keeps going to that direction, so hopefully this will be a lot quicker than yesterday, getting him into the stall. He definitely does act like a stallion, so these two right here going into the stall. Come on, Sugars. Just gonna see what he does. Come on. Perfect. So you can close it, please. Right, got these two. I'm gonna take Sugars out of the stall now. Okay, so I brought Sugars back out into the paddock, and so Tango was in the stall, so I decided to start working with him on moving his hindquarters away from me and keeping his head towards me. So that's going to be that was the first few minutes of just working with him, and of course this clip is fast forwarded quite a bit. This part of the session, was about 40 minutes of work, and so I just wanted him to keep his head towards me, not turning away, and of course he does that, so I just back off a little, and I just want him to turn towards me. So now I decided to start clicker training him. I was going to wait on doing it, but after yesterday of him biting me when he was getting treats, I was like, okay, I need to do something about that. So I decided to start his clicker training, and so when I would click, I would put a treat in the bucket. And so I did this for a couple of minutes just to get him used to it, and it did take him the entire session of training today to realize what was going on, but at the end he did figure it out. Right here I was just checking on the sides of his cheeks when I took his nylon halter off yesterday. His cheeks were rubbed on quite severely, so a lot of his hair there was missing. So here I started with target training. I wanted him to touch the halter. When he would touch it with the nose, I would click, take the halter away, and put a treat in his bucket. So this was training him to target the object, not to spook away from it. So we did this for quite a while. He did start getting better at the end of that part of the session. He did get impatient there. So at this point, I wanted to start rubbing his face with the halter to get used to it. So every time that I was able to touch his touch his face with the halter, I would click and reward him and put his treat in the bucket. And I apologize if there's any background noise in this voiceover. I'm sitting in one of the other rooms in our house where my aquarium is. So at this point, after a couple of minutes of working on touching his face with his halter, I was doing it for much longer with touching his face and getting him used to the halter being there. And I did switch sides. That will be something that we have to work on more, on working with both sides once he starts getting more comfortable with it. So here I switched sides and he did shy away back into the corner. And so I just went on to the other side. There I rubbed his face longer with the halter and I rewarded him. And there was the longest time that I was able to touch his face at that time. So, as you can see, he's starting to get more comfortable with me touching his face with the halter. So here I decided to lure his muzzle into the into the nose band part of the halter. And so I did the first 2 or 3 times that I was doing that. I was using a treat to lure his nose in, and then we did work on that for quite a while, probably about 10 minutes or so. And he started to get more comfortable with it. Yeah, here it is again. And so there were a couple of times where he would put his nose in almost all the way, but he would then back out and just become nervous again. But he did start to become more comfortable with this part at the end of the session. Yeah, so here I am. This was one of the first times that I was luring his muzzle into the halter, and as you can see, we started out small, just small steps, until he became more comfortable and started getting his nose in further and further. And for all of this part of the training, I was still doing clicker training, so clicking when he would do it, giving him the treat in the bucket. And so because we did quite a lot of this, I'm not going to explain every step of the part, or every step of the way. And so I should explain why I'm using the bucket. It's just because he was becoming more aggressive with taking the treat from my hand. I didn't want to continue getting bit. More is to not get him into the habit of taking treats by hand, as a lot of horses will nip someone that might not know to flatten their hand. Because Tango will be trained to be a therapy horse, that's something that I want to teach him straight in the beginning of training. And so I have to do the same for Sugarfoot, except Sugar's knows not to take the treat like how Tango has been doing. And so I decided just to give him a break from doing with the halter and just petting him. So here he kind of just became unfocused and just started wandering around. Of course I yielded him, not much looking for his hindquarters to turn out, but more for him to face me, just so that I know he's starting to gain his trust. So I rewarded him for that. And so there you can see that I'm able to start touching his wither shoulder area, which was a big step for us today. And so every time that I would touch him, I would do it for a couple of seconds and then click and reward him for standing there. And there I was able to get a kiss from him, which was adorable. Alright, so we are going now to move on to the next clip where I start to put the halter on him. Alright, so we've been in the stall for about 40 minutes now, working with the starting of clicker training. And so I decided to start feeding him treats with the, start feeding him treats with the bucket so that he's not trying to bite my hand. And so what I'm going to do now is more force, well not force, but just try and get his halter on, since we've been working on just having the halter around his face and stuff like that. So if he does get pinned in the corner, I have my phone facing more towards the corner, so if he does go into the corner, and I'm sure he will, you'll see me putting the halter on him. So he definitely knows that I'm aware that I have the treat, so it's something that he really wants, but I'm gonna have to have him work for it. So by touching him, I was touching him on his back just a second ago in the last clip. So just getting me to touch him. Now, though he's pulling away, he is interested, and now I have treats in my hand, which is why it's closed, but just touching him this way. Feed him. There are horses coming in right now. Oh, hi Parker.
Hi.
So, clicker, oh, I'm very sorry. I'll say so. So with clicker training, you click, you give him a treat. It might take Tango a minute to figure out that I dropped a treat in his bucket, but he does get that treat and that reward. And once his confidence level is much higher, reward for treating him with rewards will be moved, or yeah, rewarding him will be less of the treats and more of petting, stuff like that. So he has started to figure out that when I click, that there would be a treat in his bucket. So, because this is already going to be a longer video, I'm going to attempt first, but I will be putting his halter on. Now you see that I am able to pet him. I'm actually surprised that I'm able to do this. So I'll reward him for that and give him a treat. But he has figured out that my hands do smell like treats, so he does keep turning towards me. So from yesterday, this is a big accomplishment that I'm able to pet him. And we did do this off camera after. So this is a big step for him. I'm gonna slowly just step towards him. If he shoots around me, goes into the corner. I'm gonna slowly put my hand just on the side of his neck. I did figure out that he does like scratches. So before I put his halter on, or try to, I'm just going to reward him for that. Just step to the side so he can get to his bucket. He is still very nervous. I'm just going to try and step to the side again. I do just go off. Okay, it's still recording. The light on my phone just went off, so I just wanted to make sure the camera was still on. So I'm just going to reach back around, and this time I'm going to try and put his halter on. Just going to rub him. He does know that I do have his halter on. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to start petting him, slowly move towards him. Just going to tie his halter on. And reward for that. I'm gonna step back over towards him if he'll let me. There we go. I'm slowly gonna step towards him. Just rub him. And this is the most human interaction he's had since he's been here. So hopefully within a couple of days he'll start to realize that it's not too bad. I'm going to reward him. Gonna step towards him one more time. Oh, he didn't move away when I stepped towards him. That's a good boy. You okay? Good boy. So that's all we're gonna do today. He's definitely come a long way since yesterday's first session. So we're gonna continue this more this week. Tomorrow's session we'll probably work on putting the halter on more than once. And so we'll look forward to that. See you guys tomorrow.